I know it, you know it, we all know it. It's the apocalypse when it comes to PC building, PC hardware prices are crazy. RAM is up 400, 500%. GPUs are already up 20 to 30%, maybe more, depending on the model, and only set to get worse. Other components are probably going to follow. So what do? Well, you can buy parts individually and build a system, and it'll cost you an absolute freaking fortune if you can even find them. Or you can get pre-built systems. These are pre-built systems that I picked up. They're mine. I bought these actually on eBay. 1, 2, 3. They're all ACER. We have right here an ACER Nitro 60, an ACER Orion 5000, and an ACER Nitro 60. I picked them all up from the same seller. The prices were very good. If I were to actually build these systems, they would cost a lot more than I paid. So the components in these, to buy the components and then build it, would actually cost a lot more. Then of course you have to build the system, find the parts, whatever. So these are actually really compelling options for people who are looking to save money, because it's just cheaper this way right now. And the other thing is, of course, if you don't want to build on your own, you just want one coherent type product. There's slightly different cases, but again, that's the Nitro 60, that's the first one. That one there has an RTX 5070 in it. Very nice, RTX 5070. This one over here has an RTX 5070 Ti, which is crazy because the 5070 Ti is theoretically discontinued. They say that it's not, but I think it is. And the prices are already up, and they're gonna get worse. They're already up like 20 to 30%. And this one here has a 4070 Ti Super. Interesting thing about the 4070 Ti Super, it does support all of the modern DLSS, DLSS 4, DLSS 4.5, so you have no issues with the upscaling. It doesn't support multi-frame gen, 4 times frame gen, but it does support 2 times. And I don't use 4 times frame gen, so it means nothing to me. The 4070 Ti Super here is a 16 gigabyte GPU, and it's only slightly behind the 5070 Ti. Now we'll look at the cases here just to kind of see what the differences are. You can see smallest to largest. These were just classified as Nitro 60. There wasn't much more on that. You can get the serial number, so they're obviously very different. But when I bought them, it wasn't like Nitro 60 with this case. It was just like Nitro 60 listed all the parts. But we can see here, interestingly, this is the most powerful system. This has the 5070 Ti, and it's the smallest system. I like that. Honestly, I prefer compact systems. So for me, this is actually the one that I'm most interested in for personal use, because it is an ATX motherboard in there, right? You're not gonna be able to get an ATX, but it's the smallest physical system. I don't like big systems as much personally because of my filming location. It's typically also co-opted as my workspace. So if I have a big system, it takes up my filming space. Anyways, so you can see they're a little bit smaller. This is kind of the larger one. You can see that it does have an ATX motherboard in there, but there's a lot of room on the bottom there. So this one here could fit an MATX. This one cannot. This one here can fit only an MATX. This one here, while it is an MATX, it can fit an ATX motherboard. You maybe get them, maybe a RAM stick was bad, they put a new one. Maybe the power supply was bad, they put a new one, right? Maybe the case was dinged up, they put on a new one. So that's what they're typically doing, swapping usually one part, typically. And here's the Orion. This again is the last generation of Orion, 4000 series. But from what I've seen, the new ones, the 5000 series, basically look the same. It's a much larger case, as you can see here. Hard drive caddies in there, extra space in there. It's still an MATX motherboard, but again, there's a ton of room in there, extra slots there because you can get a much bigger GPU. It's got this giant panel on the front, which is interesting. Big kind of void style intake fans. It's actually going to suck in from the sides there, like that. Very cool. Width is essentially the same. We'll just go like this, right? No real difference there. Same width all the way back. This reminds me a lot of a Fractal Pop air case. It's not, but it reminds me a lot of one. You can see you can mount fans. You have for a smaller, larger, 140, 140, 120, 120. You can mount both. Right? You can see they're obviously in the same family case. Like these are ACER cases. They're not just random ones. You can see they're basically the same, just slightly different in height. And once again, room for an AIO on top if need be. Over here, you don't have access the same, right? You don't have that screw type layout in here, right? You have to actually take this off. But then inside there, you do have this area here where you can mount, in theory. 120, 120. You cannot, there's no real room for a 140 in here because this actually sticks out a little further, but you could put a 120 and 120. Other cooling notes here, the Orion, this Orion specifically, has this like, almost looks like a jet, like an afterburner on a plane or something, but it sucks in air from here. Fans in there, so again, you could swap them out if need be. I've already tested it and they run just fine. That one has two. Interestingly, this Orion here, this Nitro here, is similar height, but the way it's designed, it actually has a 3-fan setup, 1, 2, 3. That's really cool. So you could swap those out. I guess you could put in a 3-fan AIO if you wanted. Lots of options there, but 3 is enough. So they're both front to back. And then the smaller also has 2-fan as well. This one here, you can see it's set up very easily so that you can put in different sizes in there. So if you wanted, it would be trivial on this one here to add, larger or smaller. These are 140 millimeters. This is why, part of why it reminds me so much of a Fractal Pop Air. But you could put, 140s in there, or you could go down to 120s very easily. Same idea over here. These come with 120s, but there's room there to expand out to the 140s. CPU cooling, we do have a tower fan. This is a thermal take. This has like all thermal takes. So 2 thermal takes in the front, 1 in the back. Thermal take fan there. Standard, right? Big fan on it. Pretty big heat pipe there. These are 14700F in all of them actually, so you're not gonna have any problems with temperatures on that. It's not a high wattage CPU. It's exactly the same over here, literally the same. And then this one here, interestingly, uses a top down, almost like the Wraith coolers from AMD. This one's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna prefer this. Now the Orion, we can see here, does have this very open style case here. There's no like kind of closed off bottom here where the power supply is, and it's just fully open. I see both styles and I like both, which does give you access to, hard drive caddies there. Power supply is literally just sitting right there, whereas these are tucked in. That's cool. We'll get into the power supplies in a moment. The GPU, you have room. You have a 3, I guess it would be technically, that's 3, it's 2.5 for the 47 Ti Super here, but there is technically taking up the 3rd one. And then there's 4 more. So there's 7 slots there on these ones over here. Obviously they're getting smaller a little bit. This is still pretty big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So same. The GPU is slightly thinner. This is a 5070, not quite as powerful or as high watts. And then the littlest one back here, we do have a 4 slot. The GPU here is the most powerful, takes up 2.5 slots, and you technically have room. And there is enough room down there that if you did want to put in something in that PCI, you can certainly fit it. Here's a look at the back of them. By the way, they do use thumb screws for the front and the back, so that's nice. The Orion here, obviously very large. You can see the back of the kind of frame here that hides the power supply. It's on the other side, so it doesn't matter. Some hidden power type things there. So when you actually do slot in a hard drive, 3.5, the actual power there and SATA connectors are on the caddy. So when you stop them, they go, and you're going to be locked right in. I really like that actually. Them just being right in the back of this caddy. No need for any nonsense. You slap them in and you're going to be wired up. That is actually really well done. So good job for that, ACER. Looks like there's a little bit of wiring there for the antenna. This one actually does not have an external antenna, which is interesting. The other two do. Slot here for 2 different hard drives. You can take that off, screw on the hard drives, 2.5 inch, close it back up. Lovely. The middle-sized one, obviously we get a little bit of a spoiler. On the power supply, thermal take, tough power, 850 watt. This is the same power supply. Both of them are using tough power, 850 watt GT. Honestly, overkill if anything for these systems. They don't need 850 watts, so great. Thanks for the extra wattages. Same thing, hard drive, SSD, or hard drive, as long as they're thinner. Put 2.5 inch on both of them. This one does have caddy, but it is down here. Right, so we do have the hard drive caddy down there. So room for 1, you could technically put 1 on top as well. So theoretically you could do 2 there and 2 there. This one's a little bit more snug, but still lots of room back there. And here is the littlest one, the littlest guy. Obviously we're starting to get to the point here where there's not as much physical room inside. So the cables here are kind of jumbled back. Now they are modular power supplies, both of them. They actually came with like a little bag that had the non-used power supply cables. So there is extras. They just were smart enough to not wire them up because it would just get cluttered, but it comes with them. So if I wanted to hook up, this is a 5070 Ti, so it's using 12 volt high power, but it has in the bag, when I bought it, it came with the PCI power. So you're not short on that. Anyways, hard drive, you can take that off there. A little bit less eloquent, but still 1, 2. So you can still screw in the same thing. And hard drives here, there's no caddy here, at least in this one, but you can still mount a hard drive down there, 1. And I guess you could just set the other one in there. There's more than enough room. So looking inside here, I mean, it's just a standard MATX motherboard, looks pretty good. First NVMe is right here. Kingston NV3, just totally fine. Not the greatest SSD, but it's totally fine. There's a second one down here, a second slot down there, so you can upgrade it and have two NVMe's in it. The other Nitro has the same NVMe, so that's interesting. You do have a slot here for SATA ports, so you could put in a total of 6 drives in here, 2 NVMe's and 2 SATA-based storage, so 2 hard drives and 2 2.5 inch, and there's room for it, where you can put the 2 hard drives down below, the 2 SATA on the back there. For an MATX, this has a lot of PCI lanes here, or PCI slots here. So we have the one for the GPU and 3 more. That's very interesting. PCI 1 times, PCI 1 times, PCI 4 times. So that's the faster one down there. So if you want to use, I don't know, like expand another GPU, I guess you could put another GPU in there, an auxiliary one, or you could put in like an NVMe card type thing, something like that. So very good. Lots of expansion there. General cooling, right? Like some VRM type cooling. Nothing weird about that. You do get T-Force RAM in both of them. They both do run at 6,000 megahertz, megatransfers per second. They come at like 4,800 stock, but you just go into the BIOS, and we'll show that later. Go into the BIOS and just run XMP1, and it went to 6,000. No problems, totally stable. So you can do at least that. That's really nice. And it's all standard, right? This is a standard motherboard. So standard power supply connector for the motherboard, standard CPU, nothing weird about it. Not totally jacked up with, you know, all the extra fixings like LED debug type stuff. There's some reset stuff. Not a bazillion fan headers, but, you know, with everything kind of populated right now, they're still pretty decent. Like you get an extra one right there, so you can do a little bit more, but like on the top, basically, if you were going to run some fans on the top, there is enough that you could put that in there as well. But again, it's a pretty standard, like kind of budget looking MATX motherboard. This is of course fully standard. You want to put it in now, you just take it out, make sure it's LJ1700 compatible, and you put it in. Or you put in a bigger cooler, no problem. There's no point even testing it. It is literally a Thermalright aftermarket cooler. That's very... Over here, there's nothing underneath the GPU, just some like a tiny little AGP slot, so there's no way to take it out or anything like that. Interestingly, this board here has way less slots. Strange, but whatever, it's just a different design. This one here does have one exposed though, so you can still hook up a secondary thing, but it would potentially block part of the GPU intake. But you know, some of those NVMe cards and that are not super big anyway, so not the biggest deal. Also 2 NVMe slots, so the first one is in there. It's hard to see, but that's a Micron, a Crucial drive. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a Crucial drive right back there. You would have to take out the GPU or have really skinny fingers to get that in there. The second one actually sticks off of the motherboard. It's an interesting take there, right? See how it sticks off the motherboard like that? Yeah, it's really strange. This is like a very non-standard. This is more of an OEM type of, I don't know, design language, and it actually goes into that. So you'd have to, you know, have a case that supports that. So clearly this is a slightly more custom solution. However, it's still a standard motherboard, right? Standard power for the motherboard, standard CPU over there. So again, it's totally standard. There's nothing weird about it. Easy to upgrade, no problems. It even has like USB-C headers on the motherboard, piezo beeper, lots of RGB headers. These things have quite a bit of RGB, so that's extra. Okay, so here's the first one up and running. This is the most powerful one, the 5070 Ti. Doesn't really matter too much which one we do for the first part. I'm just going to go through some of the specs and the software and that kind of stuff. I like this one though because it's shorter, right? So you do lose some height. If that's something that you care about if you want a big case, but for me, I mean, that's a lot of height reduction there. 2 large 140 millimeter fans is quite nice there. Obviously, you have the nice blue. They all kind of run blue. Even the Orion, it's just kind of the ACER vibe, I guess. They go for that like ice cold kind of thing. Metal front there looks nice. Pulling air in just to cool the system. I mean, it's nice looking, right? It's a nice looking system overall, right? If I were to build a tower right now, and many of the ones that I have built over the years, they typically look essentially like this. And one of the things that I don't like are very tall cases, unless I'm using an ATX, then it's fine. If I want to put an ATX in it, sure. But I've been moving more towards MATX and even sometimes ITX, but I just like the smaller cases. I don't always have them on the floor. Sometimes they're on my desk, and it's just nice that they're not this massive thing. But anyways, nice clean little system. I took off the side because it's super reflective, obviously. But let's go through a couple things here. So, as I said before, we'll go through the BIOS in a moment, but you can just get the specs off of this one specifically here. So we're looking at the 14700F. They all have that. 32 gigabytes of RAM, which they all have. I just put on XMP1, 6,000 megatransfers. It's fine. That what is it S? NV3000, basically. 2 terabyte in this case. Wi-Fi 6 and 5070 Ti. Pretty standard. Not too bad. Software, though, these things do come bloated like crazy. Programs. Why can't I not type? Programs. There you go. Now, ACER generally, they ship a lot of crap on their computers. Now, I don't have the biggest problem with it because it's not like you can just remove it. And honestly, I do a fresh install anyways. So typically what I do when I get like any computer that I'm going to use for personal use is I do a fresh Windows install. And you can also just remove it. I suspect that they get some form of a little bit of kickback from the companies that, like, they put the software in for them, which allows them to make a little bit more money, which is fine. They're a business. I don't have any problems with that. That's how this works. But I typically find ACER stuff slightly cheaper than the competition. So if they can bring down their pricing by financing the products a little bit this way, making it a little bit more competitive for the consumer, a little bit more compelling, that's fine. You can remove software. So what do we have here? ACER Configuration Manager, ACER Jumpstart. I don't know what half of this stuff is, to be honest. Which is interesting because I run a ACER laptop right now. I'm using an ACER Predator Horizon. It's actually just a website. ACER Helios, and it's fine. It doesn't have all this stuff though. ACER Explorer, like I don't know what any of this stuff is. Care, that's probably their software one, so that's probably okay. Care Center, let's see. Open that up. Copilot is just Windows bloat. Yeah, we'll leave that for now. Lost my train of thought. Copilot, that's Windows bloat. That's just standard. ExpressVPN, so this is where you get into some of the actual bloat and you can remove it. So you get ExpressVPN. Just remove it. They're based on it pops up Nitro, and then you can come in here. And it's a pretty standard, you can go into easy mode, pretty standard in here. So you get your 2 kits of RAM, they're 4,800 megatransfers for JDEC. I just put it into XMP1. It's weird that it doesn't say here, but it runs at 6,000 megatransfers per second. So it's good. All your other specs in here, very nice. You do have your fan controls here. This thing runs nice. I like it as it is, but you can change these up if you find them a little bit aggressive. So you could say, CPU fan, it's a pretty standard CPU fan ramp. That's a pretty aggressive curve right there, to be honest. But yeah, you can tune these as you want. Right. Fan control, manual, silent, full speed, you can change this as you want. So if you say that's kind of noisy, you can say, I'll bring that down. So it's going to run nice and quiet there, potentially then it's going to start getting noisier once the system starts to get hot. Right? Like, so I'd be like, well, it's fine. I don't need this thing to be so aggressive. So you can go something like that. That's a much more gentle curve. That's typically how I do it. So when you're idling, you're usually in this range here, and then you start to maybe do something a little bit CPU intensive. Yeah, get a little bit more air moving through the system, and then it's not till you're getting into these range that things are starting to get hot. And so this will just make sure that the system is fed good air, so you can do that. There's other, you can come in here and do silent, normal, whatever. Just go with that manual one, I suppose. Temperature intervals, all that kind of stuff. It's interesting. All good. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, that's pretty aggressive. That's a pretty aggressive thing. I don't know if it'll change on its own, but yeah, I bring that way down. All right, like really, until you're getting up to some super high temperatures, these fans don't need to be absolutely ripping, in my opinion. Come in here, all right, ports, all that kind of crap. Your tweaking and tuning, more basic, more advanced stuff. You can tune your RAM more complex. You can just run XMP, or you can tune it how you want. There's all kinds of stuff in here. CPU voltage, all that as well. So this is an F SKU, so you can't do much with it. It's not a K, so it's not like you can't overclock this CPU, this specific CPU. But it's all in here. Intel default settings. Right? It's on performance by default. It's all good. Okay, what I want to test here now is actually just noise. I guess we'll do some thermals and wattages, that kind of stuff. Just very stock. I didn't go into the BIOS and I didn't tweak anything. I didn't do anything like that. We kind of know what a 14700F can do overall, but we'll just see what this thing does on a stock level. But more I'm interested here is actually noise. Look at that, interesting AORS version. I'm just more interested in noise and that kind of stuff. So idle, I can hear that it's on, but that's about it. It's around my noise floor. It's no real noisier than just my system, just my house. But I can hear that there's an electronic on, so there is sound, but it's by no means loud at all. It's completely silent, more or less. This is hard to read, but... Right, so the CPU is idling or whatever at 30, 33, 31, so very cool. I mean, it's a pretty big cooler for a 13700F, to be honest. And that's fine. Package power, 5 watts. It's not doing anything, right? So we'll come in here, we'll run this. This is not going to be some Cinebench monster or anything like that. It's a 14700F, not K, not KF. It's also not tuned, it's just literally stock. So I don't expect it to do very high. It's not going to be like 40,000. Now, 14700F can be reasonably fast, especially if you screw around with it. But this is tuned to be cool, like you can see here. It's not dumping huge amounts of watts, and it did a very short performance, power boost there, 225 watt briefly, and then it's back to 65 watts, which is typically where the 14700F sits. It's a 65 watt TGP, TCP CPU, so it's not going to run hot. Like, look at that. I don't expect the scores to be super high, maybe like 24, 25,000. Yep, almost 25,000, which honestly for what it is, it's fine. If you got yourself the 14700K, of course, it can boost for longer, higher watts, higher TDP, TCP, it'll do better. Okay, Wi-Fi speed here, it's pretty standard, right? Nothing crazy here. 400 to 500 megabytes a second. That's about pretty much what I get in this area in my house. I can sometimes get 500, but it just depends what's going on. My upload sucks here, by the way, so that's irrelevant, but that's pretty standard. So no problem with the signal. I have, it has an actual antenna on the back, so you're getting good signal. Signal strength is fully maxed, so it's just depending on what my internet wants to do that day. But generally speaking, it's going to go quick, and that is okay. So here we are in Cyberpunk on the 5070 Ti system. We will go through all of them. Of course, I will test multiple settings and test the games and the thermals and that. But let's just get a baseline here. Yeah, so we'll go back over here, kind of just hang out here for a moment. Okay, so these are all going to perform very well. These are all very capable systems. We'll just see how different they are in terms of general performance, but also noise and thermals. So we'll come in here. So that's 1440p, like that there. Sure, okay, we can do ray tracing ultra, but let's get a baseline of not that. So we'll go ultra native. We'll just get a baseline. So ultra native 1440p, right? So 1440p ultra native, no problems whatsoever. We'll do a lot of testing here. I'll do some walkthroughs as well. But system's been running for a while. So 1440p ultra native, right? You're gonna have no problems here. We'll just do a quick run through here. This is Dogtown. It's an incredibly hard area of the game to run. We'll come back up here. Right, very hard very hard area of the game to run. So just hanging out here now. Right, 85. All right, so it's been running for, well, the system's running for a while. Been into the game for a little while here. 67 on the GPU 68. It's very good. I mean, it's a 5070 Ti with an airflow case. A bigger 5070 Ti, not a huge one, but kind of middle upper size with a very potent airflow case, so no problems there. GPU usage obviously max. GPU power obviously running very well, maxed out as well. 14700F here is running cool as well. 60 degrees is nothing, to be honest. It's nothing on that CPU. And it's running at 62 watts, which is pretty standard. It's just kind of doing its thing. This is a very CPU heavy game, which is partially why I'm testing this, because it is so CPU heavy, to see how that 14700F can keep up. And it'll be fine, honestly. It'll be just fine. And FPS are good, 85 FPS, no problems there, right? Lots of RAM, lots of VRAM as well, running very well. 10 gigabytes of VRAM being used, no problem. This is 16 gigabyte card, so lots of extra, but even the 5070 would be fine in this setting. Let's go down to 1440p normal, because it'll stretch out, but this is just normal 1440p. I think there are a lot of people who have 1440p ultra wides, but there are, I'd say more people are using 1440p non-ultra wides. Okay, so here's the ACER Nitro with the 5070 Ti. There's my SSD there, it's cool. Very good. Nice and cool in the front. Now, because it's running cool, the reds might look much hotter than they actually are, but you can see there, it's not cool, not hot. So it's been running for, I've been doing game testing for like an hour and a half, maybe now, something like that. So we'll take that side off there, just look at the temperatures inside. Okay, we'll do this relatively quick. Okay, so what do we have in here? RAM, nice and cool, right? Getting blasted from that fan, 42 degrees. It's very cool. The GPU, very cool. Let's check that 12 volt high power. 45 degrees is nothing. All nice and cool. Something, that little strip of metal there where it's exhausting out of is 50 degrees, and that's still nothing. Oh, that's nice and cool. How about this VRM plate here? There's a little bit of a hot spot around the CPU, obviously. So under 60 though. This is the actual motherboard up here. So I mean, it's running very cool, right? That's the moral of the story here. It's an airflow case. We have two giant 140 millimeter fans pushing air through the system. The CPU is getting fed directly from a giant massive fan on the front, exhausting out, getting all that hot air out of the case. And the GPU is going to get fed directly from the bottom one, suck up air, exhaust, and then, pull up the air, cool itself out, exhaust out here, and that'll go directly out of the system there too. So generally speaking, these things are going to run nice and cool, and all the hot air is going to be evacuated out, all the cool air is going to be pulled in. It's going to run really cool, especially with these components. Okay, and here is the other one, also an ACER Nitro 60 whatever. It's so strange that they come in the 3 fan, the 2 fan. The 3 fan, as we saw, was a little taller, but here it is on, looks sick as well. I like both. These are both systems that I like. I personally prefer the slightly smaller one, that's just the way they am. But I mean, this one, of course, you can fit a full ATX motherboard inside, so that's kind of nice. Nice 3 RGB there. Again, you can upgrade it with liquid cooling should you want to do that. It's pretty sweet. But no ray tracing now. So this is just 1440p Ultra. And this is, this is where this thing is going to be much more happy. 1440p or 1440p Ultra Wide without any scaling is doable. You'll be able to play a lot of games just like native 1440p. Ultra Wide should be okay. You might be pushing it a little bit, right? Pushing it just a little bit with that, but it's okay. It's not bad. Let's go back again. It's not bad. We can check the thermals because I'm actually going to try upgrading the fan on this one because it didn't really matter on the other one. It doesn't make a big difference, same CPU. But let's check the temperatures here. I mean, the CPU is not running hot. It's at 61 degrees, 62 degrees. This is, it's a CPU heavy game, but we're not really CPU limited here at 1440p or 1440p ultra wide. Yeah, the GPU is, it's using 100%. Sometimes that's not accurate, but it is actually running the GPU at full strength. The CPU is, it's tearing, but it's not a bottleneck here. And it's certainly not overheating. I mean, it's a 65 watt CPU. This is not a K SKU. If you put in a K SKU or you upgraded it, they can use more watts, so you may want to put in better, I wouldn't say better, but more powerful cooler. You could do that, but here it's running just fine. Okay, and there we go. We have the AIO installed. Cable's a little short here. AIO installed. It's a little reflective right now, but you can maybe see it in there. Bring that in. A little reflective, but yeah, we have the AIO installed there. Right. It's still set to blue. You can change it around, but we have the blue little ring in the middle there, blue up top. Gives it a little bit of a cleaner look there. Some people prefer AIOs. It's your choice. Certainly runs cooler. I mean, we're at 50 degrees now, so it's quite a bit cooler, to be honest. Yeah, I don't even have the fan set that high. They're kind of just like on just a standard curve. Not really. It's no noisier. Might be quieter, but it's definitely not noisier. Might be a little quieter. Yeah, about the same. I can't tell any difference. But it's certainly quieter. Certainly cooler. So this is great. I mean, if you put in a beefier CPU like a K now, instead of having the the F SKU, you put in the K SKU. The K SKU would run at higher watts, and you would not be hot. So, and it was just a standard. I didn't need any funny business. I just took out the cooler, right? Just took out the cooler, which I can repurpose. This can go in something else, maybe something with a i5 or something. And then, that CPU there just gets the standard LGA 1700 bracket, standard motherboard, whatever, just pop it in. Took me more time to reroute the wires than anything else, get them cleaned up in the back. So, yeah, I mean, it's running great. It's a great system, right? So, I mean, these things are pretty sick. All standard parts, right? Like, what more could you want? It's all standard parts. It's kind of more or less what I would build here. These Nitros, they're really nice. I mean, personally, I prefer the 2-fan one. That's just me. Slightly shorter, a little bit more compact. The fans are a little quieter because they're 440 millimeter, but this is totally fine. It's sort of not loud. I had sent that to a friend. It's already gone. I record these things in succession typically. I kind of would have been nice to put the AIO in there. He wanted the air cooler, but it looked cool. But yeah, it looks nice. I mean, we have the Orion still to go, but this is a really nice machine. I'm pretty happy with this. So, okay, so right off the bat, here we are in some games. It's pretty loud, that CPU cooler. Not a big fan of it. I mean, for like a OEM style, it's going to be way better than a stock Intel cooler, but it's still really loud. And it's not that effective either. So, I mean, the CPU there is running at 84 degrees. I mean, it's pulling a lot of watts, right? It's pulling 120 watts or so on the CPU, which is interesting. Normally these CPUs aren't supposed to do that. They're supposed to sit at like 65. This thing is just like infinite boosting, which is weird. Whatever. I mean, it's just allowing it to pull the higher wattages. Yeah, it works. It's fine, but it's pretty loud, right? Like, so it's running fairly hot and annoyingly, and that's closed, but that's open. I could close this and it would get a little warmer even. So, otherwise, I mean, it's working. It's working fine otherwise. GPU is doing quite well. I don't have the temp up on that. Yeah, I mean, the GPU is running cool, 66 degrees. It's a big 4070 Ti Super, so that's fine. And even though it's pulling 200 and whatever watts, it's running well. Yes, I mean, the performance is good. Performance is quite good, to be honest. I don't have any issues with that. It's what the issue I would say here that I have is just that CPU fan is pretty annoying. It's not allowing the system to like brutally throttle or anything, but it's still annoying. Okay, and there's some upgrades. I switched up the RGB, so it's just doing a pulsing thing. Not that you need to, but it was just stuck blue. So I was like, yeah, let's make a little pulsing thing. That's good. And I've done some upgrades here. One thing is I put in faster memory. It came with 5600 mega transfer memory. This is not the situation where you're like critical of memory, where memory is literally unaffordable right now. But I had it, so I swapped it in, and the 5600 mega transfer memory is going to be good elsewhere, so there's no problems there whatsoever. Happy about that. The one negative of this memory is it's taller. Like, it has this T4, it has this little bit of an extra ledge there, which makes putting in an AIO a little tougher. I was thinking about putting in an AIO. The AIO would come very low, like way down. So you'd have to have basically like almost like standard basic RAM to get it. If you have this like kind of dramatic RAM, it's not going to fit in there properly. So just be aware if you get this. You can upgrade it with an AIO. It does fit. There is room for a 240 millimeter AIO, but you need to have like low profile RAM. It's just the way that it is. Otherwise, it's good, right? So I put in this fan here instead. This is not the most powerful air cooler. There are way better air coolers on the market. However, this one costed me $20. So it's a Hyper 212. I don't have the box in reach, but anyways, there it is. It's a Hyper 212. This is the box for the white one, but I had It's a black one that I put on there. So Hyper 212 Halo White in this case. It's basically the same thing. And yeah, it will dramatically improve the cooling over this thing. Spoiler, I've already tested it, but this thing, like this, it is a big piece of metal, but the surface area of this is much lower than that. It's just less effective. The fan is less effective. So this thing will run cooler. Again, you could put in an AIO or you could put in a better air cooler, but it's a $20 upgrade. I'm pretty happy with it. The RAM, again, is faster now. 6,000 megatransfers instead of 5,600, so it's a little quicker. And that's basically it. I put one extra fan right here. I just have to clean up the wires, but I put one extra fan there. I think it'll help because these two front, they pull in air just fine, and there's lots of air coming out here, but this one is located around here, so there'll be a little bit of air going up, but not a ton. A lot of it's going to actually go down and get sucked into the GPU, which is fine. I want the GPU to run cool. So I gave one intake here. So this is an intake actually here. It's just going to literally pull air, cold, cool air right into the CPU and exhaust at the back. So we're going to have a lot of airflow kind of doing this, and it'll all go at the back, and that should run cool. I've already done a little bit of testing, not extensive, but spoiler, it does run cooler. So let's close it up. It looks pretty sick now. Honestly, I think it looks pretty cool now with the, I don't know, slightly improved coloration, slightly improved RAM and metrics and that. An AIO would look pretty cool in here, but the 14700, it helps, but it doesn't need it. Okay, now let me show you guys something here. We'll do it on the 5070 Ti, and then we'll do it on the other ones as well. So just pop over here. I'm just going to stand kind of right around this little area here. This is Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. It's a very GPU-heavy game, that's why I'm doing this. So, 88 FPS or so. Let's check our settings. 1440p ultra-wide. Screen space reflections on, ultra. Lumen hardware RT on, Lumen hardware RT lighting mode high. So this is a very demanding setup here. We do have some scaling, but it's just balanced. So sit here for a moment. We can see we're around, sit about there, like 80, 89, something like that. Okay, so 89, whatever, good enough. Now, if you have MSI Afterburner, you can overclock. So this is the front page, and this is the memory, and this is the core. One of the advantage of the 5070 Ti is that it is very overclockable. Like you can do a quick and dirty overclock, which I typically like. It's like 600 and 400 on every 5070 Ti I've worked with, and I've owned several different models. You can just go like that, 600 and 500, 400 like that, 600, 400, just go like that, hit apply. And that's a dirty overclock, like just quick and dirty, hit the button and over go. There you go. So we went from, what was it, 88 up to 94. That's free frames. And by the way, when you're overclocking, like this is a very gentle overclock, meaning we're not screwing with voltages or anything. We're just adding to the clocks. Eventually it'll crash, right? Not the game, but eventually if you keep pushing it, you'll get to the point here where it's too much. Right, this is the dirtiest way of doing it. You can come in here, you can do the fan curves, you can undervolt, do all that kind of stuff, but this is the most simplistic one. You don't have to stress about it. You just come in here and you just overclock. I already played with this a little bit, and I found that that is as far as I can push it. 700 and about 500. I can go like, so you can, I don't know if you can read that, but that's 500 right there, and that's 706, or 504, 706, whatever. Right, and that's a stable overclock. When I go a little over that, it'll start to crash. So, right, and now, right, we added like 9 frames, maybe even 10 frames, depending. So yeah, it's over 10% performance boost, 12% performance boost or something. So every 5070 Ti is not the same. Like you could get a gigabyte 5070 Ti OC, a gigabyte 5070 Ti OC, 2 of them, same model, same everything. One of them will overclock slightly higher than the other one, which is the way that it is. That's how silicon works. So don't expect them all to be exactly the same, but generally speaking, at baseline, the 5070 Ti is a very overclockable GPU. It's kind of accepted. It's very easy to do like a very simplistic, conservative overclock and get a huge boost of performance. And it doesn't negatively affect the GPU. Like we're not getting higher temperatures. We're still at 63. The CPU is at like 59, 60. So it's not running any hotter or anything. That's just free performance, right? So very good. So now let's kick over to the other GPUs and we'll see how well they overclock and how well they perform. So that's ultra ray tracing with some scaling. It's running just fine. It's a little, obviously a little behind the other one, but it's running fine overall. Not sure if the settings are exactly the same, but whatever, it does not really matter. It's not the point here. We're probably about 10 FPS behind or so, something like that. Maybe a little more, but it doesn't really matter. So you can see there, you know, we're at 200, just a little under 200 watts on the GPU, 100% usage basically. CPU is not being hit that hard. It's fine, whatever, no big deal. And what we're going to do here, and we're going to do a little overclocking. Now the 5070 doesn't, in my testing, doesn't seem to benefit as much from overclocking, but it still should. So we're at 77 there right now. Let's do a quick and dirty 400, 200. I know it can do higher than this, but we'll just try that. 426 and 203, just whatever. Right, boom. So that's 5 to 6 more FPS. It's good performance, right? Very good. Add a little more. I don't know how high we can go on this. I know they're kind of all very overclockable. Let's try 600 to 300. Let's just try that. See if it's stable. I don't know if it'll be stable. 600, 300. It's probably like a safe, just leave it there kind of thing. And again, another 10 FPS. So now, I mean, we're pretty much lagging 10-ish FPS behind the other one. Somewhere around there, right? Depends what we're looking at here, but somewhere around 10 FPS behind. So 15, 16% slower. Depends on the settings and all that kind of stuff, but they're both good, right? It just depends what you're doing. And it does overclock very well. Overclock very well as well. So like that's a quick and dirty overclock there. Just save that in there. Come in, load in a game, load in your PC when you want to play a game. Just run it, right? Just come in here, run up Afterburner, and just hit that button, boom, and you get like, I mean, we went from 77-ish up to 9. I mean, that's actually a pretty big jump. I mean, that's not the same scene, something like that. But I mean, it's still more, it's probably about 10, 12% performance. So it's about the same on both. That's not insignificant, right? That could be the difference between 50 and 60 FPS. In this case, it's the difference between 75 and 80, 85 FPS, right? So now you can turn up some settings, do that kind of stuff, turn down some scaling, but it's running very well. So yeah, very overclockable with this GDDR7 memory. They just are overclockable. Like NVIDIA was very conservative with the clocks, I suppose, which allows you to do more. It's a weird take, I guess. I guess they could have done it from stock and then you just get more performance, but whatever, it's fine. There you go. Running well. Okay, so here we are now in Oblivion on the 4070 Ti Super. Man, these names. So this is a more powerful GPU. The CPU, it's the same CPU. Technically, it's going to run a little warmer, but it's not. This is not a super CPU heavy game. So here we're at 152. Let's actually make that a little bigger. That's a little easier to read. I don't have to zoom in so much. So yeah, we can see here the CPU now is at, it can peak at 200 or so. It's still getting hit pretty hard, 130, 140 watts. But, this is a bigger GPU. It's a very big, the 4070 Ti Super is more powerful than the 5070, like considerably so. So we can see that it's getting hit a little harder. Still running cool, right? 70 degrees. We can put it on silent mode in a minute. GPU there, not getting slammed too hard like that. GPU usage, 100%. So, the 5070 Ti Super is relatively efficient. Very nice. 180 watts is actually pretty low. Man, I forgot how efficient these things are. That's a lot of frames for that kind of performance. Anyways, so yeah, we can see here, it's going to do very well, obviously, right? It's performing, it depends on the settings, but it's performing very close to the, 5070 Ti, as it should. The 4070 Ti Super versus a 5070 Ti, they're very close. They're like a 5% difference at stock, like stock speeds, all that kind of stuff. They are very, very, very close, almost interchangeable at stock. And this is almost margin of error difference. There might be a frame or two different here, right? And interestingly, it's actually using less watts to get there. So in some ways it's better, right? Nice big GPU, so it's running really cool. 54 degrees on the GPU is excellent. Now, now there is a little bit of separation between the 5070 Ti and the 4070 Ti Super. Not the raw performance, because they're very close, right? You get 4 times frame gen versus 2 times frame gen. That doesn't mean anything to me. But they both have DLSS 4.5, all that kind of stuff. But the overclocking is not nearly as high on the 4000 series. They just don't clock. You just can't overclock them as much. You can, but not as much. Right, so we're still getting better performance here. Right, let's save that. It will crash eventually. Like we're not gonna be getting nearly as high. I don't really know where it's gonna crash, but we'll see. And you can see it's also not making a big difference here. The other one we were getting like an easy 10 to 15% performance with the overclock. Like that's a lot, right? So at that point, the 5070 Ti is 3, 4, 5% faster. You add the overclock, it can be 15, 16, maybe even 17% faster than the 4070 Ti Super at overclock levels. There, that crashed it. So you can't do 500 and 300. It'll crash, right? It's too much. It's too much for the GPU. Boom, crashed out, right? So really, it's, that's where I'm getting here, 400 and 200. And I'm only getting a couple extra frames. So it's an incredible GPU, right? 16 gigabytes of VRAM. It's just behind a 4080 Super, or 4080 or 4080 Super, both of them. Just behind a 5070 Ti, right? Like it's still an excellent GPU, but you can't do much with it, overclocking. It's still great. I mean, it's still going to give you boatloads of power, even now and for years to come. And it does have DLSS 4.5 support, excellent ray tracing support. It has all the fixins. It's just you can't overclock it, right? GDDR4 memory, GDDR6 memory, and it's just not nearly as aggressive of overclockable. So you kind of get what you get. You can put a little overclock on it, but you can't get much out of it. But overall, it's pretty damn good, right? So yeah, that's that system there. I don't need to do much more. I don't need to do Cyberpunk and all that kind of stuff because it's the same CPU. The GPU is basically just going to pull a little bit more than the 5070. Probably, it's hard to say, maybe 15 to 20% faster than the 5070. Depends on the VRAM. When you put factor VRAM in, it can be way faster, but 12 gigabytes can get the job done in many cases. You will notice a difference between the 5070 Ti and the 4070 Ti Super when it comes to overclocking. Otherwise, not really. Like it doesn't have 4 times frame gen support, but has 2 times frame gen, so it doesn't make a huge difference. Really, honestly, it doesn't make a big difference. But so, you can't use 4 times frame gen. Woo. But the raw performance is still very good on these GPUs. Okay, and there's the video. That's the Orion there. The other two are off the desk. I can't fit all of them on my desk while running, so that's a nice little backdrop there. What do I think about them? Well, the Nitros are fantastic. You can get them for a really good price right now, especially if you shop for open box, refurbished, even new. I mean, these days, honestly, the pre-builts can be pretty compelling compared to building yourself. But you can often find these things open box, refurb, that kind of stuff. And if you can, the value is insane. The value is insane in this market, right? Before, they would be like good. Like honestly, even before things got bad, I was like, man, these are pretty good prices. Like I could probably build this system for about the same price, right? Which is fine, right? It comes pre-built. You don't have to build anything yourself. You get one coherent warranty type of product. You don't have to fiddle with it. Should, in theory, come with no issues there. That's great, right? So, I mean, the pre-builts have always been compelling in that regard, where you get, the single coherent warranty. They're pre-set up, they're ready to rumble. Yeah, you can tweak them, especially when they're, not proprietary. You can tweak them as you go. And they're nice, right? Nice. In this market, they're a no-brainer. They're a no-brainer because they cost considerably less than building, right? You're paying potentially 30% less than building. These ones are about 30% less than building if I did it my own, which is, that alone makes it worth it. Then you get the other benefits. So it's just a benefit across the board, right? You get the benefits of being cheaper and coming pre-cooked. Right? That's fantastic. Yeah, you can't spec out all the specific parts that you want, but they're good anyway. So like, it doesn't really matter. And you can't necessarily find all the parts that you want in this market anyways. So everything's been changed up. These ones are all good because they're all non-proprietary. So the Nitros, fully standard. I mean, they came with Gigabyte motherboard with like an ACER BIOS on it, Gigabyte GPU, good on-brand power supplies. It's all standard. You can upgrade the cooling. Like I just popped in a liquid cooler, no problem. So perfect for upgrading, perfect to get now. Use it now during this like apocalypse, pricing apocalypse. And then, the specs on them, at least the ones I've reviewed, are good for at least 3 years. There's no problems there. So, 3 years down the road, you can pop in some upgrades as you're going, potentially, or, a few years down the road, pop in some upgrades as you're going, a little bit of storage, that kind of stuff, no problem. 3-4 years down the road, maybe 5 years at this point with the market, and be like, I want to, get a pretty significant upgrade. Well, a lot of this stuff can be upgraded very easily, right? Like maybe you want to get a new system, like maybe you're like, the GPU is fine, but I want to get a new CPU or something like that. So you just pop out that non-proprietary motherboard, pop out that non-proprietary CPU, put in a whatever you can buy, everything just plugs back in, you're good to go. Right? Or you want to upgrade the GPU down the road, you know, get yourself, I don't know, maybe down the road we have some new really good value GPU, but it uses higher watts. That power supply is standard. You take it out, put in a new GPU, put in a new power supply, you're good to go. So they're fantastic. The Orion here, they're bigger. I prefer the Nitros in terms of size, especially that small 2-fan one. That was really nice. I like that a lot. It's just the type of system I would build, you know, not so like tunable in terms of RGB and that kind of stuff, but it's just a nice, clean, basic system, which is usually what I would build anyways. The 3-fan one is nice as well, no problems. The Orion here is a lovely system. Like, it's a beautiful system. Like, it's big for me, but it's not big for a lot of people. I actually like small cases and like small form factor, mini PCs, that kind of stuff. So for me, it's a bit big, but this is not huge compared to what like people are buying these days. It's not a gigantic, ridiculous case. It's just a larger case. And the larger case means there's way more upgradability, way more tweaking you can do down the road. So there's nothing wrong with it. Airflow is great. Like, it looks like it wouldn't have good airflow, but it actually does have pretty good airflow. Not as good as like a pure airflow case like the 2-fan small one. That's a compact little case with giant fans on it, but it's still very good. In terms of, you know, you pick these up now, what kind of upgrades can you do right now? Honestly, the only real upgrade I would recommend right off the bat is probably the coolers. The ones with the tower coolers, like this style, like this is the one that came with it, you know, these are fine. They actually work just fine. There's no problems with them. The stock tower cooler on the Nitros actually just is fine. And there was no throttling on those. But you can, you know, you can get liquid coolers for so cheap now. Like, you can get like Thermalright for like $40. Like, they're so cheap. Toss that in and it will just give you the benefits of that. Or you can get a good air cooler for $50, like a good air cooler for $50 if you want that. So that's one considerable upgrade. On the Orion here, that like this cooler here, I don't like this cooler at all. It works, like the system is functional at baseline, but it's certainly loud. So you know, if you get the Orion, you're going to want to put in a tower cooler or liquid cooler for sure. Just get it. I would recommend one better than that $20 one that I got. Spend $40 and get yourself a nice tower cooler. They can be pretty compelling. And you're good to go. So that's the tower there, the Orion, the 2 Nitros are out of the camera there. I like all of them. ACER did a good job with all of them. They're fantastic. It's the first ACER towers that I have reviewed. Fun fact, my first personal PC that I ever bought in my life, my dad bought it for me. I was like 17 or 18 or something, because I was going to university, or 19 whenever I went to university. I'm pretty old. Was it like an ACER, like very generic ACER tower with like probably a Core 2 Duo or something like that? That's probably right. Yeah, so there, we're back to ACERs again all of a sudden, and I like it. It's great. So there you go. There are the 2 towers. You know, in this market, don't sleep on prebuilts. Do not sleep on prebuilts. That's why I'm covering so many prebuilts, because the market is garbage, and these are a good way to get into good systems for a good price.